Okay, so when Annabelle taught you guys a couple weeks ago, part of the assignment in the case study that she reviewed with you had you creating your lookup relationship. So I noticed that some people had the lookup relationship created and some did not. So I want to make sure first, before we try to run any reports and dashboards, that our orgs match up and look the same. So we'll do that, and then we'll create some. We'll talk about the reports and dashboards and create some of those, and look at the trailhead for reports and dashboards as well. But before we do that, I just got some feedback for office hours for some folks who are in office hours having trouble. And so we can start by just opening it up if anybody has questions, had any trouble with the homework, any follow-up from office hours. If you want to talk about that, you can unmute yourself and we can discuss that now. So just let me know. I'll give you a second to do that while I pull up my org. So you should be in your case study org.
Hi, Selena. I'm Jyoti. I have a question. Like when do we use the case study ID? I didn't ask me when I'm trying to delete my record from the data loader ID. IO.
What? Say that again. When do you use the ID?
When do you use the case study ID?
The case study ID?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She mean case safe, Jyoti. Case safe ID. Case safe ID.
Sorry, case safe ID. Sorry.
Use the case safe ID when you're making updates to Salesforce.
I tried to delete or update some records. It didn't ask me when I'm trying to do with the data loader. IO.
It will always ask you because there's no way that you can update records in Salesforce without using an ID. So the name of the field in Salesforce is ID. It'll appear as ID.
Okay, it will be showed as ID, not case.
Right, and then you
okay.
You can map it to your file. You can map it to your file. Hold on. Your file. I think when you get your success file back, it's going to say ID in the file, and then you map that to the case safe ID field.
So I think.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sorry if I can jump in. I think there's two IDs. There's a 15-digit and an 18-digit. That 18-digit is case safe, and a lot of times with different data loaders, you can use either. But the case safe one, if you're like making changes in Excel, you want to use that one because Excel works with the 18, but the 15 one, you could get duplicate records if that makes sense.
So we reviewed that in class a couple weeks ago. So the reason no, that's great because it's a great point to bring up because this is the perfect time to reiterate what we meant by using the 15 and the 18-digit ID. As a best case, like a best practice, I never use the 15-digit ID when I'm using the data loader to upload records. So always use your case safe ID that we created using the case safe ID formula, because that will make sure that you don't have any duplicate records. I learned that the hard way a long time ago when I first started with Salesforce. So that was Sarah who was just speaking?
Yeah, hi.
Like Sarah mentioned, if you don't use the case safe ID, Excel will not be able to pick up like an ID that has trailing digits of, say, for example, your ID is uppercase Q, lowercase r, the number 2, and then say you had lowercase q, lowercase r, the number 2. Excel won't know the difference between those two. So you want to use that 18-digit ID because it's case safe, and then we'll make sure that you don't have duplicates in your org. So Jyoti, when you went in and you mapped your Excel file to make that update and delete those records, did you map the case safe ID to the ID field?
I think it just showed up as ID in the top column and the bottom too.
Okay, so yeah, can you try it again? And then you just map the case safe ID, the field, to your ID column in your success file.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, try that and then let us know how it goes.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, do you want to take a couple minutes to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Parisi. This is my first time jumping in to help out. I'm in Chicago. I'm a Salesforce consultant at EY. I've been using the platform about 6 years, and I really like it. So I just want to come hang out and help out.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And can you tell the class a little bit about like how you got started in Salesforce and what your path was?
Yeah, totally. So I taught high school for a couple of years, and I was really bad at it. And so I stopped teaching, and I needed a job. So I started working in a call center that was using Salesforce to run their cases and case management in and out. And I just kind of started doing the admin side of it too, because they were offering more money to kind of take some of that on. And I realized I really liked it, and I just kept learning more and doing more community stuff and switching to doing Salesforce full-time versus more of the business side of it.
What kind of projects do you work on?
So it depends. I really like to work on marketing and service projects. Those are my favorite, just because I think I come from that background. But a lot of kind of projects that are using Salesforce in interesting and new ways. Like, I guess in 2 examples, I'm working for a university right now that is using Salesforce to do all of their enrollment stuff. So if you are interested in going to one of their universities and you fill out information online, or you talk to one of their recruiters, they grab your information and we follow you through the entire process of applying for college, whether you meet the requirements. And then once you're in, like, what are your grades? Your advisors work with you there, so they'll take a look at what classes you are, if you've been going, your grades and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It's helpful for our students to hear how other folks are using Salesforce in different industries. For this class, we've been covering, we're working together, all of us, to create an application for a car dealership. So this app that we've all created is called Auto Dealer Pro, and we're using it to track leads and contacts and accounts and opportunities. Our opportunities are our service orders or our sales orders. This dealership that we're building this app for, it's called Coggin Acura, and Coggin Acura sells service, new cars and used cars. So last week we actually went into Salesforce using the data loader, and we uploaded inventory records. So our inventory records are, I'm gonna just click on it so we can look at them. We just uploaded new cars. I have one used one in here because that was our sample data. So we went in and we updated all of our new cars in Salesforce. As you can see, we have the years, the colors, the make, the models, and the quantity. And then we're going to use that to kind of build a really simple report. But before we do that, we need to be able to take this inventory and link it to our opportunity object. Because so let's talk about that for a second. Let's go back to our case study. When a person comes into Coggin Acura and they want to purchase a vehicle, the organization would start the process of doing a purchase order. So here we have Andy Young, who's come into the dealership, and we created a purchase order for him. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to add inventory items to his purchase order. And in this example, and you can't see my headers because we got to go in and edit the headers, and we can do that in the back end. We'll do that in a second after you guys create your lookup. We can see that he purchased 2 things. And if I were to click into them, because I can't see the headers on my page layout at this moment, I can see that he purchased a vehicle, right? It's looking at the inventory object here that Andy purchased. And he also purchased an accessory. So he purchased 4 new Michelin tires, right, for his new car. So he did an upgrade there. And so those are the 2 inventory items that belong to this purchase order. And the way that we link those 2 things is by creating a lookup field on our inventory object that will allow us to take that purchase order and relate it to the inventory item. So I missed a class where you guys may have or may have not created your field that would allow you to do that. So I saw a couple students on office hours who had created a master detail and then someone needed to delete it because it should have been a lookup. So I just want to take a step back and make sure that you guys have the correct field created on your inventory. So if you look at my inventory object, you can see in the top section, the first thing that you see is that the record type is a vehicle, and you see that the opportunity that it's related to, the purchase order, is Andy Young's purchase order, right? Because he is the one that bought this vehicle. Now, if I were to go back to my inventory, all of my inventory items, and I click on one of the new ones that we just created last week, there is no opportunity listed here, right? Because the item has not been sold yet. So we're only going to link that purchase order when the vehicle is purchased. Does anybody have questions about that at this point before we go and create that field that links these two? Does everyone understand why we would need to link this inventory to the purchase order? Does anybody want to explain why? Louise? Sorry, you're just right in front of me.
So I would assume it's because you don't want to advertise or continue to try to sell something that's already in the works or within paperwork being started. So you need to have that populate in order for you to know exactly what's available and what's not.
Yep, correct. So in our very simple application that we created, we would like to be able to keep track of what inventory is available. So like Louise said, if someone called the dealership and said, I'm interested in the RDX SUV silver item number, like vehicle number and whatever's on the website, right? Inventory number 0014. If I go into the database and I search for that vehicle, I can see if it's still available by looking at this field here, right? Because if there's an opportunity attached to it and that opportunity, that purchase order is closed, right? That means we can't resell the same vehicle. But we could go and say, you know what, we don't have the RDX SUV in silver available, but we have a white one, or we can order you one, right? Then we can provide better customer service because we have information about the status of that item. So if we go back to Andy, his application, we can see that his purchase order has been submitted and he has closed on this opportunity. So it's no longer available. The stage is closed one. Here, the stage is closed one. Let me just click in here so we can look at the stages. So when we first created our app, we added stages for the purchase order. And the stages were prospecting, qualification, value proposition, price quote, negotiation, and then close one. So when Andy came into the dealership, he and I started talking. We were talking about what kind of vehicle he wanted when he was in the prospecting stage, right? When he walks in the door and I open up this purchase order, he's just prospecting. We're trying to get him to buy the vehicle. We take him outside. We show him the cars. You know, he gets excited. He says he wants to apply. So he comes inside and maybe he did a test drive or whatever the case may be. We showed him the features. He's really excited about getting a new car. He comes into the dealership and we go through the qualification process. So at that point, we're asking Andy for his documentation. He's doing the finance application. He's giving us his ID. He's showing us that he has insurance. He makes a down payment, etc. And all of those things we could track on here in Salesforce. We haven't created all of those fields, but we totally could, right? We could say, you know, application submitted. And then we could have some fields that display, like, did he give us his driver's license? And does he has insurance? And did he apply for the loan? And did the loan get approved? And how much of a down payment are we asking him to put down? And then when all of that is done, we can say, all right, here's our proposal, or here's the price. And then we may go back and forth negotiating the cost of the vehicle. So if it costs $50,000 and he's saying, well, we'll give you 45, and we say, well, we can't give it to you for that low. How about 48? We go back and forth, and then he will review, sign the contract. And at that point, we'd make it close one. Once it hits close one, then we attach the inventory item to it. So let's take a look at you guys' inventory item in Salesforce. I'm just going to click on this sample that I have here. In the top section, you guys should have the record type under the related purchase order.